before you scroll past this, before your brain tells you, I already know this stuff, before your thumb instinctively swipes up because you've been trained like a dog to avoid anything that might make you feel something real. I need you to hear this. You are not stuck because the world is hard. You are stuck because you are louder than your own life. The noise in your head, the doubt, the excuses, the not yet, the tomorrow, the I'm just not ready. That noise is winning. Every single day, it wins. And the worst part, you've stopped fighting it. You started agreeing with it. This video is not motivation. Motivation fades by Tuesday. This is surgery, and we're going in without anesthesia. Let me tell you what 2026 looks like for most people right now. They wake up, they grab their phone before they even look at the ceiling. Within 45 seconds, they've already consumed 3 people's highlight reels, half a political argument, and a video of someone's overnight success, which was actually 9 years in the making, but they cropped that part out. And before they've even stood up, before they've taken a single breath with intention, their brain is already behind, already comparing, already calculating where they don't measure up. They stumble into their morning, coffee, scroll, maybe a podcast they half listen to while doing something else. They think about that goal, the business they want to start, the weight they want to lose, the relationship they want to repair, the book they want to write. And they think about it in that soft, foggy way, not with fire, with a sigh, like visiting an old photograph of someone they used to be. And then the day happens to them. Meeting after meeting, notification after notification, lunch eaten in front of a screen, the afternoon slump that pulls them into a scroll hole they won't remember, dinner, some comfort TV to numb the vague dissatisfaction that they can't name but they absolutely feel, and sleep, and repeat. Does that sound familiar? Because I'm not reading from a script right now. I'm reading from a pattern that is infecting millions of people in 2026. Here's what nobody is saying out loud. The problem is not your circumstances. The problem is not your upbringing. The problem is not the economy, the algorithm, your boss, your partner, your city, your metabolism, or your zodiac sign. The problem, and I need you to sit with this, is the noise between your ears that you have never learned to silence. Your excuses are not reasons. They are furniture. Stop rearranging them. Today, we're going to dismantle that noise. Section by section, layer by layer. By the time this video ends, you will either be angry because I said something true that you weren't ready to hear, or you will be moving. There is no middle ground. There is no, I'll start Monday. Monday is a lie you tell yourself so you don't have to be brave today. Let's go. Here's something the self-help industry will never tell you, because they need you to keep buying the next book, the next course, the next retreat. Excuses are not born from laziness. They are born from fear dressed in logic. Let me say that again. Fear dressed in logic. When you say, I don't have time, what you actually mean is, I'm terrified of trying and finding out I'm not good enough. When you say, I'm not ready yet, what you mean is, I'm terrified of the version of me that has no more excuses. When you say things will be different, when I have more money, when the kids are older, when work slows down, what you actually mean is, I'm terrified of finding out that conditions were never the real problem. Your brain is extraordinarily intelligent. It has been running a protection program for years. The moment you inch towards something meaningful, something risky, something that could change your life, your brain fires off an excuse like a smoke grenade, not because it wants you to fail, because it wants you to stay safe, because safe and stuck feel the same from the inside. Think about the last time you didn't do something you said you were going to do. What was the excuse? Write it down mentally. Now answer this. Is that excuse still true today? Is it still true at 11 p.m. when the house is quiet and you could spend 30 minutes on what matters? Is it still true on a Sunday morning when you have 2 unscheduled hours and you choose Netflix? Is it still true, or has it just become comfortable? Here's a real scenario, and I want you to feel this. It's 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in February. You're in your kitchen. Gray light coming through the window. You've got a job that pays the bills but hollows you out. 6 months ago, you told yourself you were going to build that side business. You had the idea, you had the plan, you even wrote it down in one of those notebooks you buy with good intentions. The notebook is on the counter right now, unopened for 3 weeks. You pick up your phone instead. You tell yourself you'll just check one thing. 22 minutes later, you're watching a stranger's kitchen renovation, and the window of time you had, that quiet window, that sacred morning window, is gone. And you close the app with that feeling. You know the feeling. That low-grade shame that isn't loud enough to motivate you, but isn't quiet enough to ignore. That feeling is the sound of an excuse winning. Again, how many mornings have you handed over to noise? Every excuse you make is a vote against the person you claim you want to become. Now let me tell you what excuses actually do on a neurological level, because this is important. Every time your brain generates an excuse and you accept it, you don't argue with it, you don't push through it, you just nod and comply. You strengthen a neural pathway. You literally wire your brain to be better at making excuses. You are, over months and years, becoming a world-class excuse generator. Efficient, fast, convincing. The excuse starts to feel like truth, not because it is truth, but because you've rehearsed it so many times in so many versions that it has the texture of fact. I'm just not a morning person. I've never been good with money. I'm too old to start over. People like me don't get those kinds of opportunities. Those are not facts. Those are beliefs you have rehearsed into reality. And in 2026, with every tool, every resource, every piece of knowledge available to you at your literal fingertips, the only thing standing between you and the life you want is whether you are willing to be honest enough and brave enough to stop rehearsing the lie. Let me introduce you to your enemy, not your competition, not your circumstances, not the people who doubted you. Your enemy lives inside your skull and has your voice. Psychologists call it the inner critic. Some call it the ego. Some call it the resistance. I'm going to call it what it actually is in your daily life. The voice that sounds reasonable while it destroys you. It doesn't scream. It whispers. That's what makes it lethal. It whispers when you're about to send the email. Are you sure about this? Maybe wait. Maybe revise it one more time. It whispers when you're about to post the work. Who's going to care? Who do you think you are? It whispers when you're about to make the call, take the leap, say the thing, start the thing, become the thing. And here's the sinister part. The inner voice doesn't just attack you when you're attempting something big. It attacks you in the small moments, the everyday moments, the moments you don't even register as battlegrounds. You wake up tired and it says, you're already behind. Today's already shot. You make a mistake at work and it says, see, you always do this. You look in the mirror and it starts before you can even turn on the light. The mental war isn't one dramatic battle. It's 1,000 tiny skirmishes every single day. And most people are losing the small ones without even realizing they're in a fight. When is the last time you caught a negative thought before it landed? When is the last time you actually intercepted the voice instead of letting it narrate your day? Picture this. It's 9:15 p.m. You've just put your kids to bed. You have 63 minutes of genuine quiet before you crash. This is the window. This is the window you said last week you were going to use for your fitness, for your creative work, for learning the skill that could change your income. You sit down, you open the laptop, and immediately, the inner voice fires up. You're exhausted. You deserve to rest. You worked hard today. Just tonight, take a break. You can go hard tomorrow. And it sounds caring. It sounds like self-compassion. It sounds like you're being kind to yourself. But 63 minutes later, you're in bed having watched something you won't remember by morning, and the goal is still untouched. The notebook still has the same page dog-eared. The code still has the same unfinished function. The draft still ends mid-sentence. The voice didn't want you to rest. It wanted you to stay small. Rest would have meant 10 minutes of stillness. What happened was an hour of numbing. There's a difference between rest and escape, and the inner voice knows exactly how to sell you escape while labeling it rest. Comfort is not recovery. It is rehearsal for quitting. Now, here's what changes everything. And I mean everything. The moment you understand this one principle, the war shifts in your favor. You are not your thoughts. Say that again internally. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. You are the one who decides which thoughts get airtime and which ones get shut down. You have the ability the neurological, real, trainable ability to interrupt a thought pattern, label it for what it is, and redirect your action regardless of how the thought feels. Feelings are not commands, they are weather. And in 2026, the people who win are not the ones who feel ready, feel motivated, feel inspired. They're the ones who move while feeling none of those things, who move through the noise, not after the noise settles. Because here's the thing about noise. It doesn't settle, not on its own, not ever. The noise gets louder, the higher the stakes, the closer you get to something real, the more furious the inner voice becomes, which means waiting for quiet is waiting for never. The war inside your head is not a problem to be solved. It is a terrain to be navigated every day, every hour, with discipline, not inspiration, with decision, not feeling, with the kind of relentless, merciless commitment to your own growth that makes the noise irrelevant. Not because it stopped, but because you stopped caring whether it did. The loudest voice in your head should be yours. Make it so. Right now, you're either leaning in or leaning back. If you're leaning in, if some part of this is hitting something real, here's what I need you to do. Hit subscribe, not for me, for the version of you that needs to hear this more than once. Because what I'm about to show you in the second half of this video, the actual methods, the war tools, the framework for silencing the noise for good, that's where this goes from uncomfortable to transformational. Don't miss it. Stay right here. This is where we stop diagnosing and start operating. These are not tips. These are not suggestions. These are rules of engagement for the war inside your head. Follow them, all 5, in sequence, starting today, not Monday, today. War Rule 1, the 2-second seizure. Command: when the excuse arrives, you have 2 seconds to act before the brain takes over. Reality check: after 2 seconds of hesitation, the brain begins negotiating. After 10 seconds, it has already written a full legal brief for why you shouldn't move. You've experienced this. You've stood at the edge of a decision and felt the window close in real time. Immediate action. Set a 2-second rule for any action tied to your primary goal. Alarm goes off. 2 seconds. Feet on the floor, no negotiation. Idea comes. 2 seconds. Open the document, write 1 line. Start of something terrifying. 2 seconds. Send the message, submit the application, make the call. 2 seconds, then move. The brain cannot build an excuse fast enough to beat 2 seconds. This is physiological. This is science. Use it like a weapon. War Rule 2, the identity declaration. Command: every morning before you consume anything, you will declare out loud who you are becoming. Reality check: right now, your identity is being written by default. By your feed, by your environment, by the echo of past failures you keep replaying. Your identity is being written for you, and you're letting it happen. Until you decide who you are with conviction and repetition, you will keep acting in alignment with who you were. Immediate action: before phone, before coffee, before anything. Look at yourself, mirror, window, reflection in your dark phone screen, and say 3 sentences. I'm someone who shows up even when it's hard. I am building specific goal. Today I will one specific action, not affirmation, declaration. There's a difference. An affirmation is hoping. A declaration is deciding. Who you say you are at 6 a.m. determines who you are by 6 p.m. War Rule 3, the blackout hour. Command: 1 hour per day belongs entirely to your goal. No exceptions, no interruptions. Blackout. Reality check: you have time. Stop lying. You have 45 minutes of scrolling you call winding down. You have 20 minutes of YouTube watching someone else build what you want to build. You have an hour of TV you won't remember. You have time. You are choosing consciously, repeatedly, daily to give that time to noise instead of to your future. Immediate action: pick the hour now, not when you feel ready. Now. Put it in your calendar as a meeting. Title it non-negotiable. Phone in another room. Notifications off. Work on the one thing, only the one thing. No multitasking, no research that is actually procrastination, no warm-up that becomes the whole session. 1 focused hour of real work, real reps, real output. Do this for 30 days. I dare you. War Rule 4, the discomfort ledger. Command: track every time you chose comfort over growth. Daily. In writing, reality check: you cannot change a pattern you cannot see. Most people have no idea how many times per day they flinch. They choose the easy email over the difficult conversation, the safe creative choice over the bold one, the vague answer over the honest one. They flinch dozens of times daily and they never see it because they never track it. Immediate action: at the end of every day, write down 3 moments where you chose comfort when you knew you shouldn't have. Not to punish yourself, to see the pattern. After 2 weeks, you will know exactly where your resistance lives. You will see which moments trigger the most flinching. And when you can see it, when you can name it, you can fight it. What gets measured gets confronted. What gets confronted gets changed. War Rule 5, the burn rate calculation. Command: Calculate the cost of your excuses in real, concrete terms. Reality check: excuses feel free. They feel like they cost nothing. They don't. Every excuse you make today costs you a compound interest of future possibility that you will never be able to calculate until it's gone. The business you didn't start cost more than the business that failed, because the failed business gave you data. The unstarted business gave you regret. Immediate action: write down your most used excuse right now. Then calculate the real cost. If you have been avoiding starting that business for 2 years and a modest version of it could have generated $2,000 per month, you have paid $48,000 in excuse tax. If you've been delaying your fitness for 3 years, the health cost is not imaginary. It is accumulating in your biology right now. Make the excuse visible. Make it expensive, because it is expensive. You just haven't been looking at the invoice. Every day you wait costs more than the day you failed ever could. I want to go somewhere most people won't, because the 5 war rules will change your behavior. But if you don't understand what's underneath the noise, architecturally, structurally, you will follow the rules for 2 weeks and then drift back, because the noise has a foundation. And if you don't demolish the foundation, the walls just rebuild. Here's what the noise is actually made of: 3 layers. Let's go through them. Layer 1, borrowed beliefs. Most of what you believe about yourself was not decided by you. It was decided for you by a parent who criticized you at age 7 in a way they've long forgotten, but you still hear. By a teacher who passed a judgment in front of a class when you were 10. By a relationship that ended in a way that whispered, "You are not enough," for years afterward. By a culture that told you what kind of person succeeds and what kind doesn't, and put you in the second category. You inherited these beliefs. They arrived before you had the cognitive tools to evaluate them, and they have been running in the background of every decision you've ever made. What belief about yourself are you currently operating from that was given to you by someone who was also afraid? Because that's the truth. The people who gave you your limiting beliefs, they were carrying their own. They handed them down not from cruelty, but from the automatic transfer that happens when unexamined beliefs meet an impressionable mind. And none of that matters anymore. Not as an excuse. What matters is this: you are an adult now. You have the cognitive capacity, the autonomy, the raw power to examine every belief about yourself and decide consciously, deliberately, whether to keep it or destroy it. The noise is partly borrowed. You can give it back. Layer 2, the identity gap. There is the person you are today and the person you want to become. Between those two people is a gap, and the noise, all of it, lives in that gap. The inner voice gets louder in the gap because the gap is uncomfortable. The gap means you are not yet who you want to be. And instead of treating that gap as terrain to cross, most people treat it as evidence that they never will. The gap stops feeling like a journey and starts feeling like a verdict. Here's the shift. Champions don't see the gap as evidence of inadequacy. They see it as the most interesting place on earth. The gap is where the work happens. The gap is where the growth is. The gap is not a wound, it is a construction site. But to live in the gap without the noise eating you alive, you need to make one radical decision: fall in love with the process more than you are in love with the destination. Because the destination might take years, but the process is available to you right now, today. In the next 60 seconds, the gap between who you are and who you want to be is not a tragedy. It is your assignment. Layer 3, the validation addiction. In 2026, this is the most dangerous layer of all, and nobody wants to talk about it because everybody is guilty of it. You have been trained systematically, algorithmically, neurochemically to need external validation before you act. You need likes before you believe your work is good. You need approval before you send the pitch. You need someone to notice before you feel seen. You need external signals to tell you whether your internal instincts are worth trusting. And the machine, the phone, the feed, the algorithm is designed to exploit this. It gives you enough validation to keep you engaged, but never enough to make you feel truly secure. Because a secure person doesn't need the feed. A secure person doesn't check their metrics at 11 p.m. A secure person walks into the gap with their head up and creates from the inside out. The noise inside your head is amplified by the noise of the feed. They are connected. The more you consume external noise, the less you trust your internal signal. The less you trust your internal signal, the more you need external validation. It is a loop. It is a trap, and it is intentional. Breaking the validation addiction is not about logging off forever. It is about creating a daily window, a daily practice of producing before you consume. Creating before you take in, moving before you measure, building before you broadcast. 1 hour of creation before 1 second of consumption. That sequence changes the chemical relationship your brain has with the work. You stop needing the approval because you start trusting the process. Do that for 30 days and you will not recognize your relationship to your own mind. I want you to imagine something for a moment, and I'm asking you to actually do this. Close your eyes if you need to, pause the video if you need to, but actually do this. Imagine yourself 1 year from today, not the fantasy version, not the airbrushed Instagram filter version, the real version, the version that shows up if and only if you start doing the things you already know you need to do. What does that person look like in the morning? How do they move through their day? What have they built? What have they shed? The weight, the habit, the relationship that was slowly shrinking them, the job that was trading their hours for someone else's dream. What does their relationship with their own mind look like? Are they still at war with themselves, or have they learned to be at war with complacency instead? That person is not a fantasy. That person is a decision, not a big dramatic decision you make once at a motivational seminar and then forget in the parking lot. A decision you make at 6 a.m. when the alarm goes off and the bed is warm and your brain lists 17 reasons why today is not the day. A decision you make at lunch when you could spend 30 minutes on your craft instead of your phone. A decision you make at 9 p.m. when you have the window and the inner voice has its full legal team assembled. That person is built in the moments when nobody is watching, when there is no audience, when the metrics aren't moving, when the feedback hasn't arrived, when the results are still invisible, when the only thing you have is your decision and your discipline. Greatness is not a revelation. It is a Tuesday you chose to show up. The people you admire, the ones you scroll past and think must be nice, they got lucky, different circumstances. Most of them have a common denominator that has nothing to do with luck, genetics, or connections. They have a tolerance for discomfort that you have not yet built. They learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. They learn to sit in the gap without flinching. They learn to hear the inner voice and move anyway. That is the skill, not talent, not intelligence, not connections. The skill is operating at full capacity while the noise is at full volume. That is the skill you are here to build. And here's what I need you to understand about 2026 specifically, because the world has changed. The noise has never been louder. The distractions have never been more engineered, more personalized, more precisely designed to consume every available second of your attention. AI-generated content competing for your eyeballs, infinite scroll perfected, beyond what any previous generation had to fight against. The baseline level of distraction has risen so dramatically in the last 3 years that the mere act of sustained focus, 30 uninterrupted minutes on one meaningful thing, is now a competitive advantage. Your attention is the most valuable resource on the planet right now, and companies are spending billions of dollars to steal it. That's not a metaphor. That is a business model. What you do with your attention in 2026 is what your life will become by 2030. So the question is not whether you have what it takes. You do. Every person watching this video has survived things, built things, learned things, adapted to things that prove unequivocally that the capacity is there. The question is whether you will choose deliberately and repeatedly to direct that capacity toward the life you want to build, or whether you will let the noise decide for you by default. I've watched people in unimaginable circumstances build extraordinary things, not because life was easy, not because the noise was quiet, because they decided in the face of the noise, in the middle of the noise, louder than the noise, that they were going to move. And then they move, imperfectly, slowly at first, with doubt trailing them like a shadow they couldn't shake. They moved anyway. I've also watched people in perfect circumstances, resources, time, talent, support, every advantage you could name, stay completely still because the noise won. Not dramatically, not in one big defeat. In 1,000 small surrenders, they stopped counting because they stopped noticing. Don't let that be your story. You are too close to something real. You can feel it, that tension between who you are and who you know you can be. That tension is not a sign that you failed. That tension is the feeling of your potential pressing against the walls of your comfort zone. It is the sound of something trying to break through. Let it break through. The life you want is on the other side of the discomfort you keep avoiding. Here's what I'm asking you to do. Not tomorrow, not after you finish the next show or finish the next scroll or sleep on it or think about it more, right now. In the next 5 minutes, open a notes app, open a journal, grab whatever is near you, write down one sentence, the one thing, the single most important thing that you have been avoiding because of noise, not a list, one thing, the thing you already know. Write it down then, and this is the challenge, this is where most people stop. Write down the first action, not the plan, not the strategy, not the full roadmap, the first action, the smallest possible step that you can take today, that you can take tonight, that you can take in the next 60 minutes if you turned off this video and started, and then do it. Not because you feel ready, not because the noise is quieted, not because the timing is perfect or the conditions are ideal or the stars have aligned. Do it while the noise is loud. Do it with the doubt present. Do it through the discomfort. That action, that one small, imperfect, uncomfortable action is not just a task. It is a declaration. It is your brain learning a new pattern. It is you voting, maybe for the first time in a long time, for the person you are becoming instead of the person the noise says you are. 2026 is not going to be the year things change by accident. It is not going to be the year the universe finally gives you the break you've been waiting for. It is not going to be the year circumstances align or the timing writes itself or the mood strikes at the exact right moment and carries you across the gap. 2026 is going to be the year you decided to fight, or it is going to be another year you handed to the noise. That is the only choice in front of you. You have been preparing long enough, waiting long enough, overthinking long enough. The version of you that you keep imagining in the future is not more talented than you are right now. They are not more gifted. They are not working with more hours in their day. They simply got tired of listening to the noise. They chose silence, not the absence of the voice, the refusal to obey it. That is the war. That is the only war that matters, and you are already in it. Your mindset is your most powerful weapon. Now go use it.